Welcome, welcome, welcome. Mussar Mondays. We're going to continue on. Foundation of Fear, a guide to revering God. This is actually written by an unknown medieval author, but we'll get into that a little bit. But it's edited by Sina Kahan. You can see there the name of the book, Foundation of Fear, a guide to revering God. It's part of the Mussar series, and I'm going to read the back. And you can get this on Amazon.com. It's about $12 for the paperback. I highly suggest it. It's part of the Mussar series. We just did this one, A Cure for Sorrow, A Rabbinic Guide to Suffering, also part of the Mussar series, where this one took Mussar in a little bit different direction, saying, giving information about all the things that you can combine together. Anyway, check it out. I'm not going to go into that because I want to stick to this one. Okay, so let's read the back. So blending poetry and philosophy, this enigmatic book explores how Yirat, often translated as fear or reverence of God, can impact everyday life. It offers profound insights into love, companionship, decision-making, and proper social conduct. Readers will find valuable Jewish wisdom that can enrich their lives and deepen their understanding. The original Hebrew text is presented alongside an accessible English translation. So when you're in here, I got my notes, but you can see there's Hebrew and English. So it's not as much as you think. This one was more of almost like a dialogue that takes you through a nice train of thought. This one is a little bit more sectioned. So let's get into it. So the credit for Foundation of Fear, or Yesod HaYirat, is a compelling and poetic medieval exploration of life lived with reverence of God. Reverence of God. This, I'm reading the preface. This is all by Sina Kahan. And let me see. Oops. Mr. Kahan goes on to explain that this work is credited to Shmuel ben Meir Halevi Abulafia, who lived in 1320 to 1361, another short life. He was a Jewish financier that was a distinguished Sephardi philanthropist, financier, and advisor to the King of Castile, King Pedro I. And he's a distinguished Sephardi. He's a Jew. He's a Jew that is from, I guess he's from Spain area, and they call themselves Sephardi Jews, even though the term now can expound to anyone that's not European descended Jew. So, but he's a Jew. And he being Shmuel ben Meir Halevi Abulafia, he eventually, with all of his good efforts in the kingdom, remember, he's a financier, advisor to the king, even with all his good efforts in the kingdom, and well representing the Jews living in this kingdom, this man was arrested, tortured to death, and his wealth was confiscated. So before we get started, Mr. Khan makes sure to speak the words of the Rambam, saying, this comes from Hakdama Perek Halek, to accept the truth from whoever said it. So what a great way to plead with us, to open our minds and hearts to receive the wisdom from this man, Shmuel ben Meir Halevi Abulafia. And I didn't feel like this was a shiur or a study, so I didn't do the dedication. But let me go ahead and do that. I'd like to dedicate this to Rav Stephen Bernstein, my mother Iris Elizabeth Rook, and also Carolyn Jones. Who would you like to dedicate this to? May their memories be for a blessing. Okay, so the first part, we're going to go into the introduction by Mr. Sina Kahan, where he defines the Yirat. And again, I'm not reading this all. I just want you to get the flavor. This is like $12 of power-packed Mussar. If you want to go a little bit higher in your understanding of Mussar, your ethics, not just more golden rule approach, be good to others, do unto others as you have them do to you. If you want to go higher in your understanding of it and more develop your self-discipline in life, how you want to be treated and how you want to treat others, how you look at your work, how you look at your Torah study. If you want to go a little bit higher in evolution of thought that way. Check these series out. So in defining fear, Mr. Kahn walks through different ways to describe fear through others, such as the Dietrich Bonhoeffer, and you might be familiar with that name, Dietrich Bonhoeffer. And he says, faith acts not just as a comfort, but as a potent weapon against fear. And Aristotle, who talks about fear as an entity that changes for a person as their perceptions change. And if left unchecked, it can become an issue. Mr. Kahn also goes to show that what fear is for outside, what fear looks like for someone that does not have Torah versus someone that does have a Torah learning education. Outside the Torah in paganry, fear is something to be conquered, but fear in the Torah is completely different. And you know, when I first read that, I was like, he's right. You know, there's nothing to fear but fear itself, and all those kind of things. And you know, you can't be vulnerable and things of that nature. And then he said, but fear in Torah is different. So fear, or in Hebrew, Yirat, in the Torah, it's totally different. It's not about being scared of something or something that causes you to shirk away. It's about drawing closer to God in reverential awe. And this fear is identical to love and service to God. So in Christianity, that's what I am, we do have a term God fear, but we still have regular fear, that paganry fear like he was talking about earlier. But in God fear, in Christianity, this type of fear is if you love God, then you will keep and walk in his ways. That was my note. We call it God fear, but Mr. Kahan goes on to continue. The type of fear in the Torah, if you love God, then you will keep and walk in his ways, as they're defined in the Torah, like the Egyptian midwives that defied Pharaoh to save the Hebrew children. Now, Mr. Kahan goes and takes Proverbs chapter 9, verses 9 through 10. The Yirat, the fear of the Lord, Yirat HaShem is how you say it. Fear of the Lord, Yirat HaShem, is the beginning of wisdom, Chokhmah, and knowledge, Neda'at, of the distinct one is understanding. Fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom, and the knowledge of the distinct one is understanding. And Rab Bernstein always tells us wisdom and understanding converge to make da'at. So usually where you have two, wisdom and understanding, you will always have da'at, knowledge. They will always, wisdom, understanding, and da'at and knowledge always go together. He uses the Rambam's approach to God fear, which is through reflecting up Hashem's great works and creatures, by which studying these things like science and math, you start to see the inestimable, you can't estimate it, and infinite wisdom, which then makes one fall in love, praise, and glorify, with a yearning to know more of the great name, creating a thirsting for God. So basic fear. So according to Rambam, basic fear. So also in the Mishnah Torah, which Rambam wrote, like the last point, is the basic fear is based on the expectation of rewards or punishments. And this type of basic fear belongs to the ignorant. This is in Torah now. We've left that pagan idea of fear where I don't want that thing to kill me kind of thing, or whatever, or I'm scared of heights or something like that, which makes your adrenaline. We're not talking about that. We're talking about the fear of the Lord. So Rambam is saying, even with that fear of the Lord, Yirat HaShem, you still have people who have just a basic level of it. And for the basic people, that level is, oh man, I'm either going to get a reward or a punishment. And this type of basic fear belongs to the ignorant. Now we're talking with people with a Torah education now. So this is the basic one. This is Yirat HaShem light, fear of God fear light version. Meaning these people are doing the commands of Hashem for more personal benefit than out of genuine love of God. But Rambam continues on this, that it's still good because through this fear, at least you're motivated to worship God. And as you go along in life and learn more profound truths of Hashem, this person will be guided to worship God out of pure affection. Fear is a valid teaching mechanism, Rambam says. And the concept of Yirat emphasizes the balance between the pursuit of knowledge and the acceptance of human limitations. And this balance is what ultimately leads the Jewish people towards a disciplined life dedicated to the covenant with God. Now, getting a little bit more into the book itself, we're kind of in the introduction there. This unknown author starts with, the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. There's a dispute about, is that author the gentleman we talked about earlier, that got killed, tortured and killed, or is it somebody else? So out of respect, Mr. Sinai Kahan, he calls an unknown author, although he wants you to know that some credit has been found to be given to this man for this book. So the unknown author starts with, the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. There is good success to everyone that exercises himself in these pursuits. His praise endures forever, and we know from Rab Bernstein that means the part of him outside of space and time when it says his praise endures forever. Okay, so now regarding the topic of fear, so on fear the Lord. So we're going to start getting to those little quips like you get from Proverbs. Fear the Lord. This is the first and beginning of all wisdom, yet its end and aim. In the first place, it assures physical rest, forgetting sorrow and labor. Fear God, and you will not fear humans, though they mount even the royal throne. So if you're looking at the king as the top, then no, you've already messed up. You look at HaShem as the top, then you won't fear man's so-called top. And this fear is Yirat HaShem. You don't want to have Yirat Melech, or the fear of the king. You want to have fear of God. Regarding prayer and service. So fear God and stick to him and serve him with a perfect heart. Then hope for his goodness and mercies. Let your heart exult at all his bounties and bless his glorious name. Do nothing without him. Is he not God and none beside him? When you stand before the supreme King of Kings to beg from him your wants, remember who you are and what your acts are, whether they be straight or the reverse, and who the God is before whom you stand, who sees into the darkest secret places. And this is on the subject of prayer and service. And the Jewish people, they do prayer several times a day. And they also do works. Avodah, they have mitzvot, commandments they have to fill out and things of this nature. So he's exalting them to do it the best you can with the best intentions that you can. Even though some things might seem rote, just continue on and try to remember who it is before you stand when you're doing these things. Now, regarding the subject of law and wisdom, fear God. Fear his wise men who teach you the right way and consider how to follow them. And to learn knowledge and Torah from their mouths. Know that your soul is in their hands and might be bound up in the bundle of everlasting life. I'll take a crack at it. So fear God, fear his wise men who teach you the right way and consider how to follow him. And if I get any of this stuff wrong, just put it down in notes below with some references so we can understand. We're all new here. We're just trying to figure this stuff out. So his wise men, his hachamim, his rabbis or Torah teachers who are teaching you the right way and help you consider how to follow them. Your community leader is going to help give you advice because they study Torah and they know the best ways the Torah suggests to do things. And they're going and to learn knowledge and Torah from their mouths, these wise men. Know that your soul is in their hands, the way they guide you, and might be bound up in the bundle of everlasting life. Your Beis Din or your court, because in your communities they have a court system, and their Jewish court system. The whole goal is to get the people to the Olam Haba, which we would say in Christianity. When their court system is guiding them, or the rabbi is guiding them, they're guiding them to heaven. They're guiding them to heaven, that their actions here may merit them what we would think of as heaven, but their Olam Haba. But for those of us in Western thought, look at how the emphasis is on teachers and their teachings as your guide to this God fear. It's not something that you go out and do alone. It's together. You're bound up with them as a bundle, not just one. I know for Christianity, you might think, I'm praying, I'm doing this, I'm living. No, Israel don't work like that. Israel is single people that make up this collective. So acquire wisdom and Torah and meditate thereon until they be written upon the tablet of your heart. Love that. Acquire wisdom and Torah, by study, and see what you keep and cultivate it. So if you're studying something, you only get one line. Keep the one line that you remember. Cultivate it. Think on it. Meditate on it. And remember that study without practice is considered nothing and void and becomes unreal. Obtain Torah and regret it not if the price is too high. And we got something like that in Pirkei Avot. Learn wisdom and teach it to others, but only when they appreciate it. Why should you teach the foolish and the wicked when they don't want it? Would you sow seeds on a cliff? And I'm not going to read all of these. I'm just going to read one little juicy wisdom tidbit from each section. So regarding appreciation, be wise and learn to estimate the future by the experience of the past so you will understand how to deal with it, and you will gain because of your failures. Regarding shame and shamelessness, this is good because this one's disappearing. We used to have shame around here. Somebody walking down the street and their skirts too high, and the old women will call them a hussy or something like that, and they make sure they heard this part of it, and the girl turn around and feel shame. We don't have that nowadays, not like we used to, but it's good. So listen to this: fear God and have shame for yourself rather than transgression. Why should you get the sin? Have shame for yourself. Think about what you're doing before you go out and do something wrong that you're going to end up paying the consequence for. And what I like about this, it's like a proactive, shame. And it'll keep you from sinning. Okay, on pride and meekness. Fear God and righteousness and meekness, and let your fear be whole and beautiful. Be lowly in your own sight, and you shall be high in the sight of others. You will bend low your head in the face of slingstones because you're being humble. So as the slingstones are coming, as for the dart and spear, they will miss their mark because your head went down in humility. Now on the topic of endurance, fear God and endure his judgments, believing his judgments are truthful and righteous, and believing he judges truthfully and righteously, even though their taste, his judgments, are bitter to your palate. They hurt sometimes. They are not sweet and pleasant to you. Are they not sweet and pleasant to your soul, the part of you outside of space and time? Can you ever heal the disease of a man's heart except by strong potions? Medicine is what you need, and medicine don't taste good. But it's healing you. Again, the Jews are always focused on the part of them that's not in space and time. You do what you do here on earth to merit whatever it is outside of space and time. On the topic of humility, ask him who runs after the approval of a crowd to regard the lily. So if somebody always wants to be a crowd pleaser and do things so that they can, everybody can gawk over them and, oh, look what he's wearing, look what he got. One who runs after the approval of the crowd, ask them to look at the lily, which is encased in thorns. Would the prickly thorn approach to hinder it? So while its bud and leaf are yet hidden in loneliness and humbleness, nevertheless, on the day that it appears in all the glory of its beauty, the thorn that was under it pierces it, and its splendid appearance is no more. Wow. Okay, on the topic of chastity, fear God who formed you as his servant, and incline not your heart from his ways. If your evil nature entices you to draw away with much smoothness of persuasion, oh, go do this, it's okay, then close your ear and listen not to its voice, and you will never know any lapse from God's paths. And I love that because that's the old school meaning of chastity. I mean, you know, we know chastity now is more as just close your legs or whatever, but this is chastity of close your legs to sin, if you will. I don't know how to say it, but a chastity where you are being chaste in your life to prevent yourself from sinning. Regarding the topic of desire, take heed unto yourself, lest two companions which are ever agitating with you mislead you by their blandishments. Namely, who are these two companions that can lead you to blandish? Namely, the eye that sees and the heart that desires. Which these are your two companions which conspire in you to cause you pain. Would the axe and the hatchet be present to cut down? That the axe and the hatchet are the two companions. To cut down a tree, if there was no wood amongst the trees of the forest or the thicket, do you need an axe and a hatchet if there's no wood to chop down? So don't even put yourself in that situation, he's saying. Now on the topic of contentment, Fear God, who opens the windows of heaven's favor and pours forth a blessing upon you, and rest content with that which he has prepared for you, whether much or little be found in your pocket. Be content with it. Then you shall bear your poverty when it comes as a traveler. It's just you're poor for a time, like a traveler is in a place for a time and then he leaves. The poverty is there for a time and then it leaves. And your want as an armed man being supported. So if you're content with what you have, when you're poor for a time, you'll be fine. And when you are armed and you're supported, you'll be fine. You're content in all your situations. Because God opens the windows of heaven's favor and pours forth a blessing on you as long as you rest content in what he's prepared for you. Eat what you can afford to eat and fix your ration. Leave some food on the plate. I didn't say that. He said, whatever you do, act with a plan and arrange your outgoings methodically. That's a good one. On the topic of hard work, fear God and cast your burden upon him, and do not put your strength in your substance. For why should you be anxious to acquire worry and much toil and consequence of your wealth? Why be anxious? You got all this, you work hard and cast your burden. You don't have to kill yourself. And if you have some wants, ask HaShem if it makes sense. Don't bury yourself in your substance. Why should you be anxious and acquire worry and much toil and consequence that comes with wealth, and more wealth and taxes and all this other stuff, right? Remember, there comes a day when you must leave it. However much it may be, the day when the wind passes over you and you are gone. Ain't got to worry about no more because you gone. On the topic of silence and speech, fear God with an upright heart and sustain your words in justice, wisdom, and sound sense. Remove from ourselves perverseness of speech and a heart devising and planning iniquity. Why should you be continually at odds, disputing in all things like a slanderer and a gossip? Lashon hara. That's how you call that in Hebrew. Regarding on counsel and secrets, fear God and strengthen yourself to serve him, so that your resolution shall establish his glory. Take for yourself counselors, wise people and advisors, only men who are God-fearing and men of understanding and women of understanding, God-fearing. As it is said, the secret of the Lord is with them that fear him, to make known unto them the counsel of wisdom and his secret. People that keep their head in the Torah, you want for your advisors and counsel. Why? Because that's what's going to come out of them when you need counsel. Torah, Hashem's way. Now, on the idea of dignity and dominion, I hope that I am persuading you to purchase this lovely, lovely set of, it's falling, of Mussar. Yes, it's delicious, isn't it? So on dignity and dominion, fear God and strengthen yourself to serve him, for he formed you to do him honor. Think little of your honor in comparison with his. Lower your eyes in his presence. Understand that he who honors his master will be honored and receive glory before him. On the subject of deliberation and haste, fear God and await his mercies and hope for his continuous help. Long, drawn out hope for a man makes one sick. But in hoping for God, there's healing. For he has the power to bring it about, and it is held in reserve by him. He's got it waiting for you. The topic on visiting and its abuse. Now, we have a saying here from the great and famous Benjamin Franklin: fish and visitors stink in 3 days. So, on the topic of visiting and its abuse, fear God and visit his temple morning and evening to seek his mercies. And I would imagine that meaning like a praying and meditating on the Torah and being with HaShem. Morning and evening to seek his mercies. Accustom yourself to visit God-fearing people in sincerity and truth, and not in a false manner when you visit a God-fearing person. Don't go over there trying to sell them no Avon or whatever the door-to-door thing is nowadays. I don't know. As regards to your friend's house, weigh your steps and regulate them judiciously, paying your visits but rarely. Don't be going over your girlfriend's house all the time trying to, or your friend. You gonna wear out your welcome. Fish and visitors stink in 3 days. You going over there? Go over there, sister. I got a problem. Or hey, I want to bring you guys some food. Thank you. Or hey, can we study? Have a good reason and get on out of there. On love and companionship. Fear God and place his love and fear in your heart firmly planted. Also love those who fear him and choose their companionship in your friendship. For can the man of fear be found who would kick at the love of truth fixed in his breast? If he's a man of truth, he ain't kicking at the love. If he's a man of fear, of God fear, he ain't kicking at the love of truth. It's in his breath. His breast. It's in him. Okay. So now that's pretty much just a little rundown, just enough to whet your palate. Oh, I'm in the wrong book. Just to whet your palate about. There's so much more in here, and I love these things because each one you can just take one and think on it for a week, and you'll come out with different things. Okay, let me read that. The last part, I'm just going to read the bio for Mr. Sina Kahan. And Sina Kahan is an innovation manager, author, and speaker in the medical technology and artificial intelligence industries. He is a qualified biomedical scientist and has an MBA from Imperial College, University of London. Sina is also co-founder of an international Beit Midrash, thehabura.com, which is where I belong, TheHehabura.com. Check it out. And its publishing house, the At Press. He's published books on Torah called Ideas Bereshit, Ideas Shmot by Yikra and Context, and on technology, brief insights on medical robotics. Sina was born in Iran and now lives in London, England, with his wife and 2 children. And for more information on Mr. Sina Kahan, you can do www.sina, S-I-N-A, Kahan, Kahen.com. Sina Kahan, one word. All right, I hope you enjoyed that. We got one more to go, a choice of pearls. And we'll also, after we're done with this series, we'll look a little bit into Proverbs itself. But a choice of pearls, rabbinic guide to life. So see you next time.